lot of space in my mind for self-doubt. I'd spend 5 years as a performer building up this band, and then all of a sudden I quit, and then there's this identity crisis because I'll define myself just in terms of keeping to what's the word? To be authentic here. We're trying to be authentic.
Authenticity.
I consider myself a part-time music professional. I'm not full-time like Ben or others that we know. I'm define myself more as a regular person now, I guess. When people ask me, so what do you do now that you're not touring all over America? I say I'm just sort of doing the normal person thing for a little bit. I have like a day job. I've always had a day job since I've been married. So music has always been something that I do either at night or in other spaces around a day job that I have. So I'm like more of that nowadays. I guess more of that father, husband, part-time music professional person who I do music whenever I can fit it in. Anyway, this makes a lot of self-doubt for me. Let's get to the self-doubt part.
Self-doubt.
Because I have thoughts to myself like, well, am I really a musician then? What's the definition of a musician? Is it someone who does music full time, like the people I admire, friends of ours, who do great work, who are really trying to hustle and make music full time work, like Ben? So am I really a musician? That will come to my mind. Do people still like playing with me? Like I don't play with many people anymore. I get some guest spots here and there, which helps me feel a little better about myself.
You did a couple gigs there at the Beer Bazaar though.
Yeah, I did Beer Bazaar with a new, really small project that I started with a friend of mine, Tom Schiffour, played in a band called Shadows of Night back in the 60s.
Should put a note to that in the
yeah,
show notes.
I'm gonna put something in there.
By the way, I'm just gonna do a quick shout out to Beer Bazaar. I already shouted out to them in the in my vlog, which I did for a month. And this has nothing to do with it. I think it's just a place I appreciate what they're doing. They have like a lot of like what's the word? Indie breweries. Microbreweries. My mind farted. All the microbreweries in Israel, they like serve them on tap. They have this, like tons of beers, and Quentin Tarantino was seen there recently,
yes,
which
he
is
was
pretty cool.
When we played there, they had requested that we cover some sort of Quentin Tarantino soundtrack
like
song,
the Pulp Fiction song or something.
Yeah, something. We didn't have time though. The request came in about 2 days before the gig, and there was no more rehearsal time.
No time.
We tried, but it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But,
anyways, continue.
I think I'm beating around the bush a lot. I'm trying to like give backstory because I'm caffeinated and want to talk about these things. Yeah,
this is Yakir's own roast right here that we're drinking.
We're drinking an Ethiopian Jima today, just on the coffee side of things. So yeah, I think the self-doubt comes in terms of can I really call myself a musician anymore? Can I call myself a music professional? Can I call myself X, Y, and Z? Like, how do I define myself now that I'm not in the context of this band trying to build a business around a live performing entity that is on the rise? Why would I quit? I have my reasons for quitting the band. But it's not an easy, making the right decision a lot of times is not an easy thing. It doesn't make everything good or easy. So it comes along with a lot of baggage, and it comes along with a lot of self-doubt as well.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of these issues also later on in the podcast, not in today's episode, but like baggage of decisions and stuff like that. But what was my thought? That was basically my thought.
Right. So I think so the other thing I suffer with, this is just the other, I made a note of it, was as a father, husband, day job worker sort of guy, the lack of time that I have to prioritize to building my music career sometimes puts self-doubt on like, should I keep striving in this thing? Like, why do I still want to do music? Even if it's not like I have to be a full-time musician, that thought's out of my head. Like I don't even know if that's something I necessarily want. There's a lot of self-doubt there too. Maybe it is. I don't know. So there's been a lot of thoughts about this, but the long story short is, with the lack of time that I actually have to prioritize for things like music or writing or recording or playing live or rehearsing, sometimes it's like, why am I doing this? Why do I persist? Why do I keep trying to make music a priority why am I doing this? It's like not adding so much now. I mean, it does. Like every time I pick up the guitar and
I'm sure it's
I
adding.
play, like it feels great. And like I love performing. It's that like connecting with
that's
people.
kind of like the on the Maslow's triangle or whatever for musicians. Like performing is kind of like the self-actualization, I think, for like 90% of musicians.
It's instant validation. When you record something, you put it out there, you don't know a lot of the reaction that's happening to when people are listening. When you're playing live, you see people's faces react and you hear them react to what you're doing. It's sort of like a drug in a way. It's a very interesting dynamic.
It's interesting, like also like self-doubt, like musicians, I think maybe even more than other types of not necessarily artists, I guess artists in general, but musicians like artists as opposed to other professionals, like their self-doubt can only really be vindicated when other people approve of it. You know what I mean? Like getting feedback from the audience is like what keeps us going. It's like, oh, okay, people are liking it. People need to share music. The need to share music is like even without record sales, people are still making records. Why are people making records if the records don't sell?
Right.
Because they want to share music. They want to, people, it can't be stopped, which is why YouTube and all these corporations are like taking advantage of musicians. But that's a whole other discussion.
That is something I definitely want to tackle.
We're definitely going to tackle. And these are issues that we want to try to create solutions for.
Yeah.
Hopefully down the line.
I sort of want to move a little bit into a few other areas of this. We've both shared a few things that we're currently self-doubting. That doesn't mean in a week from now we could come back with different ones. But as of this episode right now, for the sake of authenticity, these are thoughts that Ben and I have had within the past 48 hours.
Yeah,
I could say. But I then want to give us both credit, actually, and this is the flip side of the whole self-doubt thing, is that, Ben is still pushing forward, his business and still playing the weddings, albeit maybe trying to discover other avenues, but like still putting in the work to, maybe discover what's on the other side of that self-doubt. As, I will, I'll go and guest perform with these people or start this small little music project to keep playing out because, I'm just always curious what's going to happen.
Yeah, you put here in the show note in our own notes for this
outline,
a really cool quote that really resonated with me. Turning pro is a mindset. If we are struggling with fear, self-sabotage, procrastination, self-doubt, etc., the problem is we're thinking like amateurs. Amateurs don't show up. Amateurs crap out. Amateurs let adversity defeat them. The pro thinks differently. He shows up. He does his work. He keeps on trucking, no matter what. This is Steve Pressfield.
Yeah, Stephen Pressfield. He wrote The War of Art.
The War of Art.
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, I've heard of that book.
Yeah, I have it in my Audible account. I still haven't listened to it yet. Yeah.
I gotta read it. I don't yet do audiobooks.
Yeah.
I just read really
to each
slowly.
his own. It's all however you consume it. I use the word consume. I really mean, take it in.
No, that is an accurate description.
But yeah, so that's like the flip side. So I think if you can use self-doubt as a motivator in a way, then it can be an asset, but it's wallowing in the self-doubt where we
and it's really easy to get wallowed up in that,
Oh yeah, that's the trap.
I think that a lot of what keeps me from like wallowing is like I would wallow if it was just me, but because it's a business and I somehow, maybe it's because I'm an oldest child or something, but I feel like obligated to my to my clients. Like I feel like, oh no, I can't let these clients down, and that's a lot of what keeps me going. Like I would just self wallow maybe if it was just me on my own, if it was like me making my own music and I had no one else to answer to. But because I have all these clients and because I've actually turned this into a business for some reason, it's like, oh, I owe it to these people. I need to give them the product. They're paying me money. And that's a lot of what, I don't know if this is helpful, but yeah.
No,
that's a lot of what keeps me going.
I call those things validators. Sorry. I just made up that word on the spot. Validators. It's like, I might be self-conscious about this thing. Like, what do I really know about touring? What do I know about booking a tour? What do I know? But I've done it successfully on numerous occasions. So whether I've done it 3 or 4 times versus 50,000 times, I still have a set of experiences that other people do not have. So that's a thought that helps me validate things that I know that are of value. The other thing is people come to me with questions. Like people have, are like, I see that you went through this thing, or as a musician, you did X, Y, and Z. And I have questions about that, or I feel like I am currently dealing with something similar. I want to share our experiences and gain from what you've learned through your experience as a musician. So, even though, maybe I define myself right now today on September 6th, when we're recording this podcast, as...
Hey, it's my half birthday.
Oh, happy half birthday, Ben.
I just realized.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
That's an honor to be here on this day with you.
Konnichiwa.
So, if I define myself today as, this part-time musician trying to still keep music alive, just day job worker, husband, father sort of dude, that doesn't mean I don't have something of value that I can, that
sure.
from things I've learned from my whether I am a musician or not, or how I define myself, I have experience in music that other people can benefit from. And that's what I'm finding. And that is a true statement, which validates, or invalidates some of my self-doubt and helps me turn that self-doubt into healthy humility and productivity.
Yeah. Humility.
End statement.
Really good statement. Yeah, that is a fine line between self-doubt and humility, right? Like,
oh yeah,
humility being a healthy thing is so hard. It's so hard to be like, okay, like this is what I'm good at. I know what I'm good at. Humility also has confidence in it. It's even it's not like wallowing, right? Humility is like, this is what I'm good at. I know my limitations. But I know what I'm good at also, and it keeps you pushing forward in a non-arrogant way. And that's like, it's hard to be. It's hard, musicians. It's like really easy to be like on an ego trip, like I'm the best fucking guitarist, like whatever, man. Like watch me wail, or like I'm just like crap. And most musicians are like, I think, are often on either end of the spectrum at any given time. It's hard to find that like balance where like I am good, and I know what I'm good at. And I know my limitations, but I know that I'm working to improve those limitations, basically. Like, what do you think are good means of getting to that spot?
I think it's a lifetime of effort. Like, I do think a lot of people operate on both sides of the spectrum. It's especially with, I don't know if it's all musicians. I know I talk to a lot of guitar players, and they usually live at one side of the spectrum. Is it like that with bass players as well, or other musicians? I
think bass players are like a little bit more toned down in either direction.
Oh, they're super toned down. What do you think that's because you're just because groove? I don't know.
Yeah, I think
feels
groove.
So good.
Yeah, that actually I think is it. Like I think like if I would say that I am not like a bass expert, but I'm a groove expert. Like I know how to groove.
I can validate that.
If it's in the genres I know. Like obviously there are genres that I don't know. Like if I had to do, what's the word? Like a salsa kind of thing, like I would not be the groove bass player to go to. But if it's like, rock or trance or funk or any of that stuff, it's like, okay, I know how to groove. And I can like go with the drummer or whatever, and that's it. So that the groove is like a big part of my confidence as a bass player. I know I'm not the best bass player in terms of like technicalities and speed and whatever, but I'm also not trying to be, because I have the groove.
I like that. It's like, yeah, part of it is knowing what, like, so much of music or playing with other people I've found is understanding maybe what your unique value add is as a musician. Like, because I find this with guitar players a ton. I have a big problem with most guitar players, and I'm a primary guitar player. I'm really a bassist stuck in a guitar player's body. Like I love, like, yeah, that's just that statement.
You could think of it as the reverse.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
a guitarist stuck in the bass player's body, or
because you want to be a guitarist.
Yeah. Like it's just, my older brother played guitar, so when I wanted to take on an instrument, I was like, oh, naturally, I'll just follow what my older brother did. So obviously,
that's not what everybody thinks.
It's not what
Victor Wooten was like. Well, my brothers play like guitar and drums, so I'm going to play bass.
It's because he's a smart person. He's a smart musician. No, most people, or other people will say, oh, my brother's playing that. I should play something that can complement that.
This is why I chose the bass, because everyone else is playing guitar.
Right. Well, I actually have to give
I was very young when that happened.
When what happened? Say that again.
When I decided to play bass. Like, I'm sure you were really young when you started to play guitar. Like it's not like
it's all relative. I was like 10. Is that young? I see
yeah,
I see
that's
6.
young.
I see 6 as young. Like when I was 10 and
Yeah.
I was starting, I was like, oh man, I missed out on like 4 years. I could have started when I was 6. I was like so pissed. I remember.
Violinist, you got to start at like 4 or something.
Yeah, because I mean, just because I sucked for so long, like for an abnormal amount of time, I could not play the guitar. It took me like 3 years to sound okay.
Yeah.
Usually people sound okay within like 3 to 6 months, maybe like
I don't know.
okay. I really
know.
like I was so bad. My mom, and sorry to call you out on this, Mom, but this is just because